All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Total Arm Wrestling Show. My host, as usual, Mr. Jeff Frank. We have a guest. We have a legendary guest. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the housekeeping issues, which we give a shout out to our Alpha Patreon members every time we do one of these shows. So Ready Go Solutions, Jeff Frank, Bruce Williz, Barbarian Armwrestling, Bryan Koerner, Jon Umpherville, and Gary Roberts, the newest member of our Patreon family. But our guest today is a man who, if you follow arm wrestling at all, needs no introduction. But for those of you that are new to the sport and haven't studied anything about the history of the sport, Mr. Cobra Rhodes. Andrew Cobra Rhodes, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm well. How are you two gentlemen? Nice to be with you.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, and you guys have never met before, Jeff and Cobra.
First time. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure. The pleasure is mine, sir.
We've already got people coming into the chat, so that's amazing. Let's see where it goes with this. So, Cobra, when was the last time we saw each other?
The last time we saw each other, I believe it was the production that I did in Moldova.
Which
was a bad
that would be a year ago last week.
Man, was it a year last week? I believe it was, wasn't it 2018?
2 years last week. Hey,
2 years last week.
I'm a little long in the tooth, buddy. I can't count.
And I was looking for somebody very special, and that's you, to have on the show, the last guest of the year, for this new venture that Jeff and I have been on. And man, who better to have on the show than the guy with how many world titles do you have, or did you stop counting?
You know, after one, it really doesn't matter. You know, it really doesn't matter. You could say that, you know, I could say I've won 1 million of them, but, you know, 500,000 of them would be the McDonald's World Championships or the Backyard Barbecue Championships. You know, when they throw my gravestone up on top, just say I was around. I gripped and ripped. You
did on a high level, and I see that you got my attention again when you posted that little, or you sent me that little clip of a video of yourself, the Bajents, and me sitting in that restaurant in the middle of Moldova.
Oh, how about that? Chisinau, Moldova. Beautiful, yeah. Beautiful.
A country most people aren't even aware of, and it was a wonderful experience, and I am forever grateful to be a part of it.
No, I really wanted you to be a part of it, brother. That's why you were.
I think that whole production of that whole show was absolutely incredible. I love how the everything went. The matches were phenomenal. The production was great. That was an incredible event to watch, and I did watch that one live.
Yeah. How about that? Without a glitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of hard work went into that project. You know, especially, I mean, it wouldn't have been possible without, you know, a lot of the higher ups with the nation of Moldova, and of course, Mr. Damir. Who runs FEA, the Eagles Fight organization over there in Moldova, whose production, if you see, production is top of the line. Folks are watching like the MMA organizations over here in the States, the Dream organization in Asia, and the One. You look at the production of what this guy does with FEA, the Eagles Fighting Championship. It's 2 times as well as good, the production value. So it was really a treat to work with those folks and learn a little bit more about the business from behind the camera.
Well, it's interesting that we should go down that path maybe a little bit, because you have a history in mixed martial arts and fight sports, combat sports in general. As that's one of the first conversations you and I had so many years ago, was regarding the potential of getting into a match somewhere.
Yeah. You know, back when Gary started in UFC 8, after I taught Gary how to top roll, John Brzenk, I had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
I'm dropping names, folks. Gary always wanted me, because we sparred a lot, you know, and I always had the better hands. When we'd get into the brawls in Paris, Gary was really I was a little bit more of a hothead, we'll say. Maybe I had the little man's complex or something, but I was a savage in my younger years, and I just went another way. Decided to be Mad Max, the family man. You know?
Well, that's amazing. I like it.
Instead of getting my face punched in all the time.
Now, we have a couple of topics I want to cover that we've never talked about. Can you talk about the X-Arm promotion?
Absolutely.
Because that was something that I don't know if ever has been covered on a show like this in the past.
Fill me in, Ryan. What's the X-Arm?
You must have seen this at some point, Jeff, and maybe Cobra, you can fill him in on this because you're
sure.
the guy. Yeah.
Well, X-Arm, I have a good friend. Actually, a bit late, they put him in the UFC Hall of Fame, but should have been one of the first. His name is Art Davey. He's the man who actually created the UFC. Him and Mr. Gracie. And Art got a hold of me. Art was kind of this. I'm going back 12 years. 08, right? And Art had, he's always thinking. He had in his mind what can give people entertainment and this digital platform, because he figured that people don't want to watch. This is 12 years ago. He said, this is what he said to me, Cobra. People don't want to sit and watch a show for 45 minutes an hour. They want 10-minute clips. And they want action. They want an action pack. They don't want to see, like in arm wrestling, the grip up, blah, 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 blah. So we came together with this hybrid sport called X-Arm, where the guys are, and a lot of the mechanics of the sport we were tinkering with to get it to flow. It was really a tough fish to catch, but we pulled it off somewhat. And so of course the guys were strapped up on a modified arm wrestling table and bound together. Then they had a free hand. And on go, we start laying the techniques into a guy, elbows, high kicks, punching, and while you're trying to pin. So it was like the old British system, points. You're getting points per pin and then judged like on a 10-9 basis per round. And it was really just, there was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It was fighting in a phone booth. Fighting in a phone booth. That's what it was.
Okay, so this is what I'm seeing going kind of. I've just seen this recently where they're gripping up, they're at a table, and they're just kicking the shit out of each other.
Yeah, that's if you look there, you'll see me in a fedora. I was the coach for this.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that once.
Yeah, we shut that. We brought in, as far as the arm wrestlers that we brought in, we used Ted Williams, who owns Gladiator Challenge out on the left coast in Cali. We used his fighters, his contracted fighters, and then we brought in, on the arm wrestling tip, big Rick Vardell from California, who at the time was, he wasn't Gladiator champion heavyweight. Rick Vardell, by the way, got into MMA. He was Gladiator Fighting Championships champion at heavyweight. And of course, my little brother, Gary, Big Daddy Goodridge. We brought Gary into the project as well. And we had a lot of fun we shot, I think, 4 or 5 times I flew out there. And we did training. We, just got the guys acclimated to what we were trying to do, and just had a ball. Great fellowship of blood and guts and work.
And whatever happened to that? Because the clips are everywhere. Like you can find them pretty easily.
Well, there was, I believe, the Chinese money was behind it. And then there were a couple Eastern European factions that wanted to hop behind. And geez, I can't think of the production. Anyway, the bread ran out. The bread ran out, and that's when I stopped getting on planes.
Yeah, and it's a pretty incredible story, and I get tagged in videos periodically about the old X-Arm stuff. You should do this.
Arm wrestlers hated. I was getting hate. I was like, you know what? Everybody's an expert about someone else's business, it seems, in this world.
100%.
So I was like, you know what? Every time I got on the plane, they were sticking 5 stacks in my pocket. If you want to stick 5 stacks in my pocket for my schedule, I'll stay at home. If you're that worried about the sanctity of arm wrestling, then I'll gladly stay at home if you really care that much. If X-Arm is hurting arm wrestling, that's how I felt about it.
Well, there was the odd guy I wouldn't have mind being across the table from in that scenario, but won't go there.
Of course.
Didn't Rick Vardell? Was it Rick Vardell?
Drop some names, Ryan.
Actually armbarred somebody across the X-Arm table.
Yeah. Lapua, one of the Samoan pimps. Rick tried to slap an armbar on. He actually had it set in, but he worked out of it. Yeah, pretty exciting. I mean, we had danglers. I came up with a coin phrase there because the guys, you actually had, you couldn't, there was nowhere to run. You had a D-ring around your waist, right, with a strap. And that D-ring was attached to the table also. So, I mean, you know, usually you're getting off the line when in combat, right? You're throwing your shot, keeping your head off the line. There's nowhere to go because you only had, there was two buckles like this attached to the D-ring. So there's nowhere to go. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna eat elbows. And it was exciting, you know. You couldn't have paid me to do it. So
I would imagine being strapped into somebody, you could generate a lot more energy too.
You're strapped to the table, but to the person you were strapped by the arm wrestling hand.
Yeah, so if you're strapped to somebody, I'm guessing you could generate more torque in a punch or a kick.
It depends on the striker. It depends on the strike, the angle, you know, the in out. I mean, guys, there was nowhere to go. You were getting messed up in the show. The winners, the winners of a fight look like losers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The arm punchers would have a better time than the guys that generate force from their lower body, I think. But that's technique we're talking about here.
Yeah. I mean, it's apples and oranges. You're getting split. You're getting chipped. It was real. And the athletes, men and women that did this were straight savages. They had no fear.
They would have to be. They would have to be. Because you're going to get scarred up.
You're gonna eat it. Yeah.
So you got that. You got, you know, Cobra, you think about your career and you don't get as much credit as you maybe should for like the things that you've tried to do to transcend the sport. So you've got your Screen Actors Guild because you were a referee in Over the Top. Is that correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that you go on, you got Game of Arms, which you got any cool stories from behind the scenes in Game of Arms?
Nope.
I know Travis told a couple on that show he's on with Gary, but
I got a few stories about Travis in Game of Arms.
Yeah, well,
myself, nope.
Everybody's got the stories about Travis.
Yeah. So what are the other productions that we might not know about that you've been involved in as far as television or?
Oh boy, well, actually, right now I'm working on a deal with a major motion picture. I can say Universal Studios, but but we have a NDA signed on it, so I can't go into it. But I can say that it's a pretty exciting film starring one of the biggest men in hip hop, a guy who changed the music industry back in the day.
That's so cool.
From New Orleans, you know.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
Right on. This is good. And Over the Top, I mean, what was that experience like? I'm sure
Over the Top was a wild experience. You know, you got to think that's back in 85, 86, and at the time Sly was the biggest thing in Hollywood, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was a 20-year-old kid, so that was, you know, pretty awesome to work with the guy, and you know, got to do some training with him, myself, Dave Patton, John, Marvin Cohen had a few of his top dogs. They got to work with Sly, and I was in there on the shoot quite a bit, so I would see the other guys on the outside, but when I was with Sly, we were on the back side, you know, on the back of the set. So did my head just get bigger?
Yeah, so did mine. Jeffrey just vanished, so he'll be back. We'll keep going without him. It happens with him from time to time. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so that was an exciting time. You know, a 20-year-old kid from Rhode Island. Just a couple titles here and there. Yeah, we did it. We did it. Marvin Cohen's a savage.
And I was looking at the big banner from the World Arm Wrestling League that I have in my garage. So me being life size or bigger. In the background, I'm looking at all the people in the background they use for everybody, and God damn it, there's Marvin Cohen standing there in the crowd.
The man.
The man was everywhere.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Jeff.
I don't know what happened there.
Hey, welcome to the club, Jeff. The thing I'll say about Marvin is he's got a voracious appetite for the hustle.
Yeah.
And that's good for arm wrestling because it's not for lazy people. And when we're trying to, people, we're trying to lift this game up and put it in front of more eyes. He's a guy that's done more of that than just about anyone. People show up for a hot second and do something. It's the flavor of the day. I come from a day from a time when, and I'm still in it. I mean, if I dedicated, I could still bat it out. But the arm wrestling it's different now. It's not, guys are strong. Right? You've been around. When I used to do it before 01, I busted my back, blah, 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 wah, wah for me. Me and the guys, the top dogs that did it in the day, we were arm wrestling. We were arm wrestling. You know what I mean? We were playing chess. These cats now, they're playing checkers. You understand? They're strong. Yeah, they're strong. Of course. But you see a guy, I see guys right now. At a show, I saw them 5 years ago before Game of Arms. I could train with these guys and put my 2 fingers, Brian, in their entire hand. You know what I'm saying? They're gripped up on these 2 and let them blast. And I can top roll them with these fingers or cut them in with these fingers and work them over. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The same guy I see he's got muscles coming out of his ear and no technique, but they're smashing people. And that's, they're playing checkers. We were playing chess. Yeah, maybe I hit a little bit, but I'm not gonna, those people know who they are, They still don't know how to arm wrestle, but they know how to arm wrestle. And they just happen now to have 40% more strength than they did in what should have been their prime. Can you explain that?
Indeed. I can explain that.
Have you seen? Am I the only one that sees this?
What's that?
Am I the only one that sees this, or?
There's a bit of a renaissance going on, perhaps, and you see a guy like I'll use Ryan Bowen. So he's super popular. He's well known.
Is he? I brought him to Moldova our first year, our first show.
Yeah, technically, he's a guy that really studies the sport and is patient. He's patient, and he's not the guy that just tries to blast.
Yes.
So I'm being very complimentary towards him because I think guys like that are, maybe
showing the technique.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. And we did have one question that actually came in from Uncle John's arm wrestling show, and he wanted you to talk about the exploding hand technique.
Ah.
Now,
exploding hand technique.
How well can you articulate that in a setting like this?
The exploding hand technique is something that's reserved for my seminars.
Gotcha.
So we'll have to leave that be.
Well, let's talk about seminars. What are you doing in arm wrestling right now?
I've actually been doing private sessions.
Is this with arm wrestling specific? Or is it your private sessions? Is it arm wrestling specific style of training?
Yes.
Okay.
And with a big capital A on hand control and technique. Because what I learned very, very early in the sport, back when I was a 14-year-old kid at Al Turner's house and at Norm Devio's house, banging with Jim Fitzsimmons and Greg Bettenars and Mike Petrarca and Gabe Accardi and all these cats, George Givens, Jose the Phantom Estramares, Alvarelli, many. I know Karen Bean was a little girl. She's a little older than me by a month or so, but she's just a little girl, a little fiery arm wrestler. I'm going way back. These people don't know how it. I learned that because I was always fast, okay, and I learned to hang on to my opponent because you can be patient because you cannot pin your opponent until you can pin them. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. Jeff,
And you watch a lot.
I'm trying, you know, as an amateur in the sport, I'm really trying to absorb what Cobra's saying here and pay attention.
Yeah.
Yes, what I'm trying to share with you is you cannot pin a guy or a girl until you can pin them.
Yeah.
Meaning the fast and the flat, like you say, oh, Cobra was fast, he was just blah, 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 blah. The speed is nothing without control. And if you don't have strength and power, then this sport's not for you. So when you hear people say, oh, so-and-so is not strong, so-and-so, listen, every arm wrestler is strong. You know, this, and our techniques, whatever good technique or bad technique or good spots, you know, people practice in bad positions, they go to a tournament, and then they get a fair setup, and then like, oh, I'm getting screwed, what the hell, I can't. Well, you gotta practice at a deficit, train at a deficit, make it, you gotta eat the pain to get to the level. You know what I mean?
And I think that's a very good point. Sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, okay. I think that's a very, very good point, because I don't think you see that a lot in arm wrestling practice nowadays. Most people want to start from an advantageous spot, not a deficit.
Yeah, of course.
And then when you get into that tournament setting, you don't know what it's like to be neutral. You're always pulling from an advantage.
They don't know what to do. They come down off the stage saying, I got screwed.
Yes.
Because they don't have the, you know.
Now I remember the conversation we had right after Moldova, and where I should have been a lot more patient. And you mentioned that you don't have to, you know, smash everybody. Sometimes establishing a position is more important.
Of course. I mean, you watch me long enough, right? How many guys have I not allowed to slip? Guys trying to bail out, and I'm saying no. Stay here.
Yeah.
Because if you're that athlete, you're already trained up. Endurance is not your problem, right? Yeah. You've done all your homework at home. I can sit here all day on you like this, and you're trying to run away. I'm gonna impose my will and make you eat the pain. I'm going against everywhere your pressure's running. I'm hitting that wrist right against it, and I'm not jamming at you. I'm just letting you know. Don't do that. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's what I say. Like, we were playing chess, and nowadays they're playing checkers, but they're playing big beefed up checkers. But there's no moves. There's no those little. I just ran out of words. Wow, that's rare. Those little things that are in the hand that he can feel, the crowd can't feel it. They can't, you know, that, Billy Badass is giving Cobra a tough match. That's great. I like for you folks to think that, but really Cobra's just hanging in there, because I'm not going to waste my time with the guy that goes with that big hit. Boom, you know the slip is coming. His hand isn't good enough to even hang on to what he's doing, you know? So I made it a point. I never want to restart. I've got advantage. I've got you. Look at your wrist, dude. You know what I mean? Why would I give you another shot in the straps to beat on my arm again? I'm already making you suffer. I'm going to make pain your friend, because I've already made it mine. It's my bedmate. So I can stay with him all day long, and most of my opponents could not. You know, some of the super heavyweights that got me, they could handle it. But you know, there was a time I thought under 200 pounds that no one could beat me. I was walking at 164, so I felt invincible, you know. But those were the days, my friend.
So you're training guys privately, you're training arm wrestlers privately. Now, that must mean that somewhere along the way, you are doing some arm wrestling training yourself.
That's correct.
So
very light training, but I just want to make sure that the tendons are not babies, in case, you know, if someone says hits me with an offer sheet and at Cobra, hey, would you consider doing blah 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 blah? I'm not gonna walk in and take this bread to do an appearance and not give it my all. So I want to be able to say to myself, okay, kid, you got this much time. to up your game. And of course I know how to do that. I've been banging in this stuff for 40 years, you know. So I mean everything's, you know, for a 55-year-old cat, I think I can bang some of these kids. But I have, you know, that dangling carrot is not as exciting for me anymore. So has to be something, you know what I mean? If not, I'll just do my best to help share the little bit of knowledge that I have about the hand. The hand is so important, I feel, in our sport that I don't see it used much. You see someone dominate someone. Of course that guy, oh, he's great. No, he won the show, but he's not a great arm wrestler. Yeah, he won that show.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I do.
And you know, I'm sure some folks might say, I'm sitting here calling myself a little bit of a hater right now, but that's how I'm going to call it.
It's an interesting thing to think about, and it's a tough one to express to people that don't truly understand some of the subtle nuances of the sport. And I remember we talked once on the last show that we did. You mentioned Svetlana Gashevsky as a name that you might want to compete against at some point.
Actually, Svetlana and I decided that we will never arm wrestle against each other.
Really?
Again,
okay.
Do you remember the Worlds 2010? That was my little comeback thing. I won the Masters. Then I turned around and my very first match in the Opens was against Shimbalat from Kazakhstan. And I broke 2 ribs in that match. And fought through. My very first match, I lost to him. It was, savage, horrible. And won like 5 matches. And then Svetlana put me out. So I am 0-1 against Svetlana.
And you will never pull him again.
That we said it. We said that's enough. He didn't even want to arm wrestle me because he knew I was jacked. But you know what?
Yeah.
The 5 guys that took the ass whooping after I broke my ribs, they got it. So how dare him not hand it back to me? I was cool with it.
Yeah.
It was more of a respect thing, if you know what I mean. I mean, we're bros, man. It's deep. These kids over here, especially North America, they don't know, what it's like. I spent, 99 world championships over there in Vladikavkaz. I stayed there for several days after the team helped me, requested that I stay, and we did a lot of work with my old brother Alan Kedev and the kids, and it's a whole nother way over there, which they're finding out, every time these guys run into an Eastern European, one of the top dogs, they're getting their butts handed to them, unless you've read a different newspaper than I. They're living it over there.
Yeah, they definitely are. One of the things I find over here is that a lot of guys are calling themselves professional arm wrestlers when they've been around a very short time and haven't had the experience of arm wrestling the killers that come from Eastern Europe and Russia.
Yeah, it's hard. These titles, world champ. I think it's a really, really. It's this blanket that, not even a blanket. It's a quilt. All the pieces of a quilt. There's little pieces of a quilt and big pieces of it. This is, there's some world championships, and then there's a world championships. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, when you can go into a class and there's 40 guys or so,
and they're all solid.
You know what I'm saying? These guys are polished, and they're about it.
I don't understand what events people would pull to declare themselves a world champion outside of WAF.
Pardon?
What would anybody call themselves a world champion outside of an organization like WAF?
Well, there are some shows that I think back in the day you could give credence to as world championships.
Right.
And that now, listen, there were shows that I went to back in the day out in Bakersfield, California, and in Phoenix, and like after Over the Tops, when Marvin moved me out to LA, And they, I mean, like they were having those Baxter's World Championship shows and that, you know, the talent at those shows, bro, it was like a state championship, really, but it was like a world championship.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been to state championships
Mm-hmm.
that were tougher than worlds that year. You know what I mean? So it's a slippery slope, and I really don't. It doesn't do anything to me anymore. What the thing I'm most concerned with is people learning how to arm wrestle. I mean, a lot of them don't. A lot of them are strong. A lot of them are winning shows, but a lot of them are not great arm wrestlers.
Who would you say today in North America is under 200 pounds is one of the best arm wrestlers, pure arm wrestlers? And I'm gonna throw a name out there and just and I'm gonna go with Justin Bishop.
Yes, Justin's very, very talented. I've seen him. He works his hands, and he's learned to be patient also. North America, yes, absolutely. He's learned to be patient also. That's a big part, man. That's a big part. When you can keep your heart rate like Hannibal Lecter in the middle of heat, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That helps your entire performance throughout the day. When that other guy's blowing his gasket and you're on Hannibal Lecter mode, just slow motion, you know what I mean? It only makes your prowess better, and it really defeats your opponents that are watching what's going on. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Jeff?
Yeah, 100%. And I find it very interesting. And I guess for you, Ryan, who would you think? And I'm trying to think Canadians too. Who stands out as just a real peer? I'm just going under 200
You know,
pounds.
one of the great technical. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Arm wrestling who I watched come up on it, very, very good, was Boo Boo, Denny LeBrail.
Yeah.
This guy, I used to bring it to him. I think I'm probably 100, and the last time we pulled each other was a Harley pull. He beat me. Totally different arm wrestler than the guy that I used to put the boots to in the 80s. The guy learned how to arm wrestle and overcame and became a top rolling. He was all inside. He became a top rolling master, you know? But that was probably from banging with Serge Usoro all the time. One of the meanest shoulder pressers and hookers ever at 165 from the Great White North. No doubt.
Yeah. Now, you weren't going to ask me the question, Jeff, of who I think Cobra should pull, because I think it's more important to ask Cobra who excites you if you were to be offered an opportunity to arm wrestle them.
I guess you'd have to run the Rolodex by me, because I really don't pay attention. You know, I see a little bit. I see little blurbs on the Snap Face and what's the thing? Insta book. But there's no one that I've thought of to, you know, that dangling carrot it doesn't trip my trigger. But if I hear a name, maybe send me someone's film and I'll be like, yeah, maybe I can top roll with that guy.
Yeah.
What's your weight right now, Cobra?
Inside power too, maybe, but I hit it.
Yeah.
What's your weight at, Cobra, right now?
Oh, I'm walking around 163. Same thing since I was a sophomore in high school, brother. Just it didn't come on, you know. Eat as many steaks as I can, and it just won't come on. Figure I'm 55 now. That's the way it's gonna be when they throw mud on me. Probably be about $140. Oh, it's gonna be what it is. I'm not gonna worry about it.
That's it.
I mean, bro, the weight has never really been except, you know, some of these blowhards now, you know, you show up at a super match and they tell you, oh, the guy's he's gonna be 170. You get there, the guy's 198 and telling everybody the Deca and the Anadrol and how many needles he's got up his ass. And you're in the next room listening to it going, what? You know what I mean? That kind of turned me off a little bit
Yeah.
about the sport.
Now, do you think it's just become more acceptable? Because I know that it's 1986. Did you even hear about it much?
Yeah, on the set of Over the Top quite a bit. Saw it in use, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, saw it in use. First time that I had ever seen like a syringe in an athletic arena was during the Over the Tops. It's like, what's that? What's that? You know, it's just a little cocky kid from Rhode Island. I'm a 20-year-old kid, you know, from Rumford, Rhode Island, you know, get the letter Marvin's hitting at me. Marvin flew me around to a couple spots before, and that's when I met Lori Cole and this one and the other one. You know, I was just a kid. Next thing you know, I'm standing beside Sylvester Stallone. It's like, oh. I told all my friends before, hey, I'm going to go make a movie with Sylvester Stallone. But, oh, Rhodes, get out of here. You're full of it, you know.
Yeah.
That routine. And this was way before Al Gore invented the internet, though. So information didn't fly that much then.
That's right. Al Gore's invention, indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, this was a long time ago. This was back in the time when your telephone bill, when I got in trouble with my parents most of the time, it was about my phone bill from 14 years old on. Because there was a phone bill that you got from your house that was the timing. There was a prime time, they charged you more, 9 to 5 business hours. You call long distance. It was like if I called California at 9 in the morning, it was like 27 cents a minute. Tick, tick, tick. Your phone bill came the next month. You know, the cheapest time to make a phone call was from 11 p.m. to like 6 or 7 a.m. or 9 a.m. There were 3 times. And the prime time, of course, they charge more. And I get, because I was calling all around. So-and-so, Wes Atkinson and Houston there with the beans. And Mr. Atkinson, I'm Andrew Rhodes. Can I come to your tournament? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Just talking to these guys on the phone. Blah, 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 blah. Like kids talk to me now, you know what I mean? Except the kids now are much more insightful and much more educated. But back then, I was ringing up $300 phone bills. And I'd come home from school. And I hear my mom, Andrew, yeah. So, oh, the phone bill came. You know, $400 phone bill. And, you know, in 1981, it wasn't cool.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I want to clean up a few of these comments because there's a bunch of guys in the chat, like a ton of guys in the chat right now.
Hey, guys.
Jody Williams is saying you need to reach out to him.
Jody, my man.
Yeah, and then Uncle John is asking. Uncle John is asking the most important question. He says, how do we get a hold of you for training? And are you accepting clients? Or is it more of us? Do you do it online, or do they need to be in your presence to be?
No, I do it. I do it. I've had a couple of camps from Eastern Europe come to me. So that's organized through their team and their governments, and through my LLC. They come and they're put up. The whole package I take care of. When I go abroad or travel to the session, that deal is set up, and then I'm there, and we get it on. And every client, a lot of things are point specific for what they're after, and that's all discussed beforehand. I like to look at the talent of who they have, who is going to be it. I'm not walking in doing 50 people in a seminar. All right, everybody, listen to this. Do this, do that. You win. I'm closing hands with people and letting things you can't tell, things you must feel.
Yes. And
breaking down their hand to get them comfortable. Because you can't do what Cobra Rhodes is doing. You can't do what Ryan and Espey is doing. You can't do what Jeff is doing. You have to do what you're doing. But if we can get you to a point where you're comfortable feeling uncomfortable, it only gets easier from there. And then you can take those things and work on them.
Interesting. So they could, how would somebody reach out to you?
Cobra Rhodes at Gmail is fine. And of course I have a snake face page also, a little fan page. And yeah, I would go with the Cobra Rhodes fan page, or you shoot me a direct email.
Okay, I will put, it won't be there right now, guys, but by this time on Saturday, you will have the link for the fan page in the description of this video. So go see that about 24 hours from now. Now, what else do we want to cover here, sir? Jeffrey, what have you got?
Well, I just absorbed the information. I just started thinking matchups and styles, and my mind just kind of runs wild.
Well, you are a promoter. You have the mind of a promoter. So let's.
Yeah, I was just thinking, in Canada, so while Cobra was talking, Kelly Leach, one of the best inside pullers, come to my mind, and maybe as an interesting matchup, national champion Kelly Leach, one of the best inside pullers we probably have.
Kelly got me once.
Did he?
Yeah, Kelly got. I think I'm about 7-1 against Kelly. He got me once in Barrie. My little brother Gary had to show up in Barrie.
Interesting. Yeah, Kelly's a killer, and I was up there not too long ago, and he's feeling as good as he's ever felt, and
hell, I don't want him then.
So no, just my mind running wild thinking of
I get you. Yeah, I've had some of my greatest matches ever in Canada. Well, Eastern Europe, some savage ones. Right in Rhode Island, New England, some savage ones. I mean, Alvarelli show and Connecticut after Over the Tops. Ryan, were you at that show?
I was not.
Gary Goodrich, Fred Decker, Greg Betanas, Jim Fitzsimmons, Norm Devio, did I say George Givens, Guy LaSorsa. Yeah, I already said Gary. Savages. Taken overall, that was a double elimination overall I won, that stuff people don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Oh, bangers. I mean, they were good shows. Amos, Quebec, one of the greatest tournaments ever. That's a world championship.
Yeah, that's right.
About 10 people at that show spoke English, competitor-wise. All French Canadians came out of the woodwork, hey?
Yeah.
Amos, Rwanda, Amos. I mean, savages. Everybody with the shoulder. Right on go. You know what I mean? That shoulder was behind the hand, like on go, on 90% of those guys in the classes. You had to pull through power there.
Yeah.
Every match. Powerful tournament.
Somebody threw out the name Roman Gromov in the comments section. And I think that would be an intriguing match. He's a killer. If you were to watch the footage of TAL 2, he's the guy that's arm wrestled against Martin Langlois. What's his weight, Jeff?
I think he was right in that 164 range.
Yeah. Tall, looks to be more of a top roller, would you say?
Yeah, he's a very strong top roller.
I think it can lengthen your career if you do it properly.
That's exactly what Miles Wilco told me when I started.
Yeah, it's just easier on the joint. And once your hand, it makes every lesson. I won so many matches never even using my bicep or shit. You can beat someone with just your hand. I did it.
So in the Hook rankings has Roman ranked #1 right now at 154 ahead of Jeff Hale.
I pulled Jeff at the CrossFit Games. Travis's show.
Oh.
Strong guy.
Alex says that you pulled Gromov in Wall and won.
Oh, did I?
At some point. Might have been a tournament back when they had tournaments. Oh, no, it says Roman won in a war. So, I mean, maybe.
Was it left-handed? Because I pulled left-handed 8 times in my career.
Well, perhaps
I'm sure
it
was left-handed.
Yeah.
I'm pretty damn sure it was left-handed.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
How's
8 times.
All right, we're getting up to the time, guys. But
did you go through all the questions there, Ryan?
Well, most of the questions are most of them are comments, not questions.
Oh yeah.
So here we are.
That'll be nice in the comments section.
Yeah.
Be kind, guys.
Well, they're all kind. Yeah. Somebody said Alan Fisher again.
Say it again.
Have any interest in having another match with Alan Fisher?
Sure, I'll bang with Fish Face. I love Alan very much. Yeah. I love Alan.
Now, that was one of my very first, the first time I was at the Arnold Classic, I saw you and Alan pull, and I thought it was, at the time, it was the best match I'd ever seen.
Right on.
It was,
Yeah, Alan's a savage. He's fun too. And Carolyn, what an angel. That's a great team, those two people.
Yeah.
Good people. There's a lot of good people in arm wrestling. That's what's endeared me to it for the years. And I have my Eastern European connections. That's a really, really solid part of. If I didn't have this family here, I'd in the States, I'd probably be in Vladikavkaz with Zolev, my brother Zolev, the Crushing Russian. You all know that.
Yeah.
Man, he's an Olympic trainer now.
The Crushing Russian, man. That's
Kazbek Zolev.
Some of the guys, you all in the comments need to do some research on some of the names.
Zolev. He is the uncle of the Zolev that is so famous now.
Yeah.
Haji.
Jody asked if Cobra will pull out a TAL event. Well, you never know.
Yeah, that's everything. Everything's open for discussion. I don't shy away from anything, but things have to be right. And when the moon and stars are aligned, we can like that.
Yeah. Corey West is asking me a question. He says, "What's my current weight?" About 365.
Corey, is that the Monsters kid?
You betcha. Yeah, it sure is.
Wow, he's a piece of meat, huh?
That guy is
big dude.
Buddy.
One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and probably one of the. He's probably got the most potential of any arm wrestler out there right now, I think.
Is he using his hand?
He is.
Yeah.
He is. He had surgery a couple days ago on a torn bicep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tore his bicep. He wasn't using his hand.
Against Dave Chafee, left-handed.
Oh, well, Dave Chafee can hurt people, surely. Yeah. I pulled him once in an overall. It sucked. Yeah. No good. Yeah.
Well, sir.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
You know what, man? I sent one message to Cobra. I said, I need a legend to come on for our last show of the year. And he said, I got you. No hesitation. So I appreciate you. 100%. And I wish you the best in all the holidays and everything you do. So it's Merry Christmas, everybody. And
to all a good night.
And Jeffrey and I will come on one more time before Christmas to do the year in review. But it will be just the two of us doing that sometime next week. So what a way to close out the year as far as guest, Cobra. I appreciate it. And be well, my man.
Hey, all you pullers out there, train smart. Use the lethal weapons of the mind. Play chess, not checkers.
Somebody's going on about my cat. What was my cat doing?
I'll tell you later. All right, brother.
Peace.
I'll talk soon.